Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Dan Metcalfe and I'm the creator and inventor of the 60 Up balance board. You may have seen it on television. You'll see our commercials everywhere and it's the most incredible piece of equipment whether you have balance issues or want to get stronger. But before I start, I want to thank the Fit Expo Virtual for inviting me to be part of their the premier presentation of an incredible idea to help people that are stuck at home or unable to go to gyms maintain or grow their fitness level. So thank you so much for being here yourself and to the Fit Expo Virtual. Now, let me tell you about the 60 Up balance board, and it's really a complete system. Now, before you jump off and go, okay, I'm a fitness person, let me tell you, this was created for seniors or people that are recovering from injury, but I would tell you as well, we have professional athletes training on it, world record holders, Olympic gold medalists that are training on it. We have bodybuilders, fitness. In fact, I'll put some videos up of some of our bodybuilders that are training on it because the rewards are so much more than just balance. You can get body sculpting, you can get strength and conditioning, you can get equality on both sides of your body so that you're working, again, both sides equally. And it is, again, probably I got a gym at my house. It's probably the most important piece of equipment I have because it allows me to have body muscle dynamics, which again is great for cutting up. You look at Bruce Lee's body, how ripped he was. It comes from dynamic tension and isolation of the muscle to get that great shape. Now, let me go back and tell you to begin with how the 60 Up balance board was created. Bob Eubanks, that many of you will know, he hosted the Newlywed Game and then the Rose Parade. He was the host for 38 years, and he actually brought the Beatles to America as well, put the money up, but not many people know that. Bob was going through a really hard time. He had started falling. He had had both hips operated on. He had back surgery, and his life was going downhill fast. So I said, let me train you. Now, I used to own a gym out here in Westlake Village in California. And I had an incredible movement gym. Everything was based on movement and explosive movement or maximizing your strength in your body for performance on a field of play. So I said to Bob, let me train you. So he was a little nervous to begin with because I was known as a very tough coach. But again, all great coaches know you train to the level of the person. You don't just make everybody come to the same level. So Bob was having a hard time walking. He was shuffling on the ground like we see a lot of seniors out there. His head was down, he was hunched over, he had poor posture, and his life was on a downward spiral. So I thought, let me come to my house, let me train you. And what I need to do is strengthen up the hip flexors, make the legs stronger, strengthen up the core, and then he'll be better at walking. Well, the very first exercise I had him do was literally walking through those speed ladders that we have 1 foot at a time, and Bob was really struggling. He couldn't really lift his foot off of the ground. So I said, great, let's start by strengthening the hip flexors. So I had him put his hands on the wall and started lifting his knees. But he could do that all day long. So I'm like, there's something here that's a disconnect because his body's strong enough, and yet he can't lift his feet when he's walking. It came down to his brain connection, feeling what's happening in your body to then allow the body to send messages back and feel confident. So let's think about that in everyday life. And I explain it this way. If anybody has kids, or obviously we were all kids at some point, when you learn to try and stand up and walk, you fall and you fall and you fall. And the reason being is because your brain is trying to sense the pressure points that allow you to stay in an upright position or a leaning position, and then feel those pressure points to make sure that you continue to stay in a balanced position where you can explode or move and not fall over. Well, as we begin to get older or become more sedentary, those messaging, which comes from the proprioceptive connection, that's in the cerebellum at the back of your brain, goes down through your spinal column, through your spinal cord, and then sends messages. For example, if I say I want to move my right hand and pick up a cup, if I move my hand and pick up a cup, the brain sends the message because of the thought. Now I go to grab the cup, it's hot, I pull it away before I feel that it's hot, it's burning my hand, but I pull it away, oh, that was hot. I don't go, that's hot, and then I pull it away. That's the proprioceptive connection example of a messaging of what I want to do, and then the message coming back as to what's happening. So let's think about balance first. When I started training seniors, and we've had incredible results with people recovering from injuries of any age, of people that are seniors that are walking with with walkers, they got canes, and they're beginning to change their skeletal structure, and their muscles are beginning to get used to being in one direction. We've helped so much with Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, stroke survivors. We've got doctors that endorse this and believe in it so much. We have physical therapists that have it in their offices, and we've got tens of thousands out across America with the senior generation. Let me show you really quickly, because I want to show you the 60 up balance board, how it works relative to pressure points. So if I move this out the way, this is the 60 up balance board. Now it's very simple, and if you notice it has handles in there for the seniors to feel safe as the board rocks. Now let me tell you about the board itself. I'm going to step on it. The board is made out of a material that is the same they use in automotive and also use in aerospace. It's the same grade material. You could drive a truck over it, it won't break. I can jump on it, it's not gonna go anywhere. I've driven my truck over it, and the only marks on it were the tire marks. But again, it has a gentle rock. Now, when I train athletes with this, I take the poles out, and you'll notice the amount of variance that you can have in your foot positions. So if we're doing squats or we're doing different type of exercises in here, where we're learning the muscles are engaged while the brain is figuring out the movement. But for seniors, we'll start off with something as simple as just tapping on the board. Now, if you notice, if I tap hard, the board will rock to the side. And the board will rock to the side. So I'm learning balance on the leg that's staying on the ground, and soft pressure. As soon as I feel my foot touch the board, it comes back up, it doesn't lean on it. First exercise, so basic and yet dynamic in re-establishing sensory perception and reality of what's happening with the body. Let's go on to another one. I step on 2 and 2, and I'm teaching myself now to feel confident, not letting my body go outside the poles. I'm confident to be able to now rock and balance, rock and sustain, rock and strengthen to push back. And then I'll say, okay, try and find the middle. And we're constantly working on that middle point of balancing. Maybe I'll lift my leg and then say balance. Now I'll bring my feet together and do like a skiing movement. So again, we're strengthening up the hips, the knees are working, the feet are feeling pressure points. And then I'll try and find that balance in the middle from a motion to a stability, stable center position. Now, I've got over 300 exercises on this board for balance specific strength training. For example, if I want to work and strengthen my left leg, all I have to do is put one foot on number 3 on the outside. The one closest to the center has to work harder to push up because most of my body weight's on this one. Even if I turn around and go, okay, find your balance, about 90% of my body weight is on my left leg. And yet I have to keep the right with certain pressure on it, so that if I took my foot off, the board's gonna rock. If I push too hard, the board's gonna rock. So the brain is constantly figuring out how to work and have the right pressure point, exact pressure points, to be strong and be centered or stable. We have other ways we can use it as well. I can turn the board just for you here, and I can step where I'm working on my front and back motion, making sure that I've got that leg strength to push back, or I can have it where I'm going up the stairs. I step and I push my body weight. I come back, I lift, I push my body weight, or even the fear of falling forward. As I step here, I step off, I begin to go off. Now I pick up my quick feet and I can walk back. And again, we work on stepping up. And it's amazing how the brain continues to allow the body to be in control once the brain reestablishes or regains the ability to send messages what I want to do, and the messages come back quick enough as to what's actually happening. So that gives you a little bit of idea of what we do with the senior balance situation. And again, for people with any brain degenerative disease or effect, traumatic brain injury, where you're trying to get the remapping, the neuroplasticity of the brain coming back again, something as simple as just standing on this and rocking side to side, even watching TV, because your mind is focused on the TV and your brain as a secondary force is actually controlling your body while your mind is somewhere else. And so again, it becomes subliminal, but we're pressing on pressure points to keep the balance moving. Now, it's so simple, and the beautiful thing in here is that we're going back to the body. See, if I want to find my balance, I have to put the board in the right position, and all the success is mine. It's not the machine making up for my deficiencies. It's exposing where I'm at, and then I learn to adjust and become two-sided. So my pressure point on my right or my left is exactly the same. It's exactly right. And when it's not, the machine lets me know. We have a whole system, like I said, of over 300 exercises in here. But let me show you how it advances. You'll notice on here that we have bands. So the bands are created that once you begin to have your balance, now for me to find my balance, I have dynamic tension in my quads. My core has to be engaged at all times. In fact, we have an Olympic gold medalist who uses this for their core training, because whatever they do, the core has to be engaged. And we know the core is the center of our strength. Weak core, you end up with a weak imbalance in your body. So for example, I want to do a bicep curl across my body. I'm focused on my balance, but as I take the band, now I'm bringing that across. And as I bring it, my brain is having to focus on my balance while I'm strengthening or squeezing, contracting the bicep muscle into here. If I start to go off balance, now I can use momentum to be able to get that band and squeeze the bicep. But in here, if I find my balance, I now have to go with a dynamic tension, zero momentum movement, so I can really start working on that body sculpting and the shaping of the muscle. And as we know, when you start going into muscle isolation and keeping it contracted, we also strengthen the muscle and get those beautiful cuts. I'm going to put this back onto here. Now, one of the things that I created when I built this was the ability to move the bands into the right position for the body by moving the poles inside. Let me show you, so simple. We have a clip key that comes in here. I take the band off. I just move the pole to the inside. It's in here, clips back in. I put the band back on. Let me just do the other side really quickly. Here, it really is that simple. Put the pin back in the pocket. Just put that in there so it's clipped in, and this comes back. Now, you may ask, why do I change the poles and bring them inside? Well, think about this. We want to say that anatomically, the board supports the natural position of the body and not the body having to fit the machine, or this, in this case, the balance board. So now if I want to do a bicep curl, if the poles were where they were, I'd have to twist my arm to get around the poles. But because I've moved them inside, and this again is for seniors, I now can start working that body. I can go into the bag lift. I can go into the side shoulders. I can go into the rotator cuff. I can come into my front shoulders. I can go back and work my tricep. And the whole time, I'm still working on my balance. So again, balance becomes subliminal while we're focusing on something else. But the messaging for the body is constantly going on. Where's my pressure points? How do I adjust? No different than everyday life and being more successful in everyday life, where I can walk down the road, I can look at the sunset, I don't have to worry about what's happening with my feet. And again, from recovery or people that have been in accidents and with physical therapists, I can isolate certain muscle parts. I can change my foot positions just so that I can go into different exercises. And again, the squat is one of the best exercises you can do on here, because you have to isolate both legs, have equal pressure, and then at the same time, you've got to be able to bend those legs and then squeeze the muscles coming back up. And you can't relax one leg or have one leg dominant, because if you do, the board's gonna rock. So with that being said, I wanna move on a little bit to the advantages of this 60 up balance board. For seniors, you've already seen, with over 300 exercises and the safety of having the poles and handles in there, it's incredible to see their recovery. We have doctors that endorse it, physical therapists that endorse it. We have doctors that had to retire because they had a disease, could no longer work, could no longer drive. They now say they've had more success on 4 weeks on this board than 7 years of physical therapy. Not because the physical therapists aren't great, of course they're great, but it's what the board offers at home where they can do it on their own. See, if you go to physical therapy and you're there for, twice a week, what are you doing on those other 5 days? You begin to get better. And we know when you train, you don't get stronger. When you train, it's the day after those muscles begin to grow because you're tearing those muscles down. You're tearing the body. You're challenging the body muscularly to have to grow or get stronger. And we know if you don't take rest days that you begin to deteriorate. However, if you take too long of rest days, you never get the growth in there. And it's not necessarily muscle size growth. We're talking about development of your ability. So by having this 60 up balance board at home, and you can see it's so simple. It's about 3 feet, just under 3 feet wide, and about 2 feet, it's about 1.5 feet across actually. And the poles, you now can do your physical therapy, go home and do simple, relaxed exercises that help to strengthen what you're doing at physical therapy. So when you go back, you're in a better position, you're at a higher level for the physical therapist to help progress you rather than this constant up and down instead of this angle of going up. So again, the 60 up balance board, once you see the whole system, there's the whole program, the exercises, the videos, the DVDs online that are free. We have over 100 videos, and some of you may know who Debbie Siebers is. Debbie Siebers is now one of our trainers, incredible lady. And our first trainer I brought in that I absolutely love is Kathy Stevens. Some of you will know her, many of you will know her from the Fit Expo LA where we presented last year. She comes in and teaches for us. We do have a certification program that's about to be released that really helps understand the full power. Now, on top of that, we have doctors' organizations that love it, UCLA doctors. We have the Veterans Association that now have allowed us to become a government official vendor, which is incredible for us because we're all about helping people. So again, this is the most incredible machine that's so simple. So before I finish up and go on to the athlete side of this, which many of you will be right for, and I'm going to drop some videos into this presentation as well, showing bodybuilders and athletes struggling on this board. Don't be mistaken. This could be in any gym and be such a powerful tool for extra development because it's not just the body, it's isolating the body and making it stronger. But let me show you this really quickly. If you wanted to put this board away or fold it away, look how quickly it goes apart. I take the bands off, I take the handles, I separate them out, I take the clip, and there is the board taken apart and ready to be able to store it away, put it under a bed. Don't put it under the bed because if you put it under the bed, you may not pull it out again, but it can lean up against a wall. You can put it in your closet, the hall cupboard, any of those places as well. So again, it's such a simple machine, but the ability for the body is absolutely incredible. And I didn't really introduce what I've done, but I was a head coach on the Olympic Development Program. I was Nike Youth Coach of the Year. I have 36 professional soccer players playing around the world. I owned an incredible gym that was internationally known for movement and strength and specific movement explosive work. I was an Ironman. I've been fortunate enough to be an athlete, and I've trained hundreds of people, everything from injury survivors, car crash victims, stroke survivors, Parkinson's, and I've never seen anything, not because I created it because of the issues that were out there that maybe didn't have enough specificity to truly address their issues. Now, the greatest thing about this is if you have the board, you will also be able to create exercises I didn't think about because it's got so much potential. And again, our creativity, and you'll see this in your gyms, in your physical therapy, in your doctor's offices, your creativity allows you to separate yourself away from everybody else. Even though they're great, you've got to allow yourself to tap into your greatness and not just be a follower, but come up with new creative ideas, and this will allow you to do it. Let me put the board back together again really quick, but I'm going to take the bands off. I'm actually going to take the poles off because I want to show you some more exercises on here. The bands attach so simply to the board, and it's one of those things that again, I'm not even going to put the poles back on right now because I'm just going to put these to the side so that I can show you some other exercises that I do with top athletes, professional athletes, players, and at the Fit Expo, how crazy it was. Now, if you look on here, we have a red ball. Just so you know, the red ball is for foot activation and double balance issues. Your foot on there, the ball's compact and the board's rocking as well. And so you have a double effect of using your feet that will loosen up your toes, strengthen up. If you've had a broken foot, if you've got foot issues, if you've got weak ankles, if your foot needs to get stronger, if you need to get your toes stronger, that's an incredible tool that isolates one foot at a time and gives it double effect, the board rocking and balancing on the ball. And again, fantastic for integrating strength of foot. So let me show you some of these exercises. We actually did this and I'll drop in some videos as I said. Let me grab some weights here really quickly. If I step up on this board and I want to do my bicep curls, a lot of times you'll see people that will be throwing their hips forward. But for me to find that balance perfectly and now go into an isolation movement, as I'm isolating, I'm trying to keep my body as still as I possibly can while I'm curling. And at the same time, I can feel my quads so engaged. And as the board begins to rock, I'm turning around and changing my pressure points. Now, this doesn't take the focus off of my bicep because subliminally, I'm reacting to the change in pressure points. But what it is doing, it's forcing me to be aware of the contraction of the bicep. So I'm not throwing the weight up and my body going out. I'm trying to be completely still. Again, with both arms, I can be here and just again, so motionless. And I guarantee you'll get a better contraction for your exercise in your biceps in that specific one than you would standing on the ground and just being able to move different body parts. So with that being said, let's go down to a chest workout. I'm gonna go down and do some push-ups. I'm gonna see if I can tilt this down just a little bit. So if you look in here, the board is nice and wide. So I can choose, do I wanna do a wide push-up, where again, I have to maintain perfect balance, because if I push harder with one side, the board will tip to that side. So it helps with isolation and building both sides exactly the same. It also increases muscle dynamic tension because you have to stay, what's the right word? You have to stay engaged at all times while you're doing the exercise. But let's say I want to start with 2 and 2, and I'm here, pushing up and down. But I say, you know what? I want to challenge my left side more than my right side. I want to focus a little bit more on here. I can put my hand on number 2. Along the front, we have different numbers for positions. Put my right hand on number 3. And now you'll see I'm very slightly off center with my arms. So as I come down, I've got to work harder on my left side. But at the same time, I still got to keep the balance so my right has to stay engaged. And the closer you bring your hand or your foot to the middle, and the wider you take the outside hand, the more the arm or leg closer to the middle works. You can really get an incredible workout and burn in here. Which brings me on to the next one. You turn around, we know core is so important. So let's look at planks. I go into the center here, and people will say, well, there's other machines out there, other things out there that wobble that you can do planks on. Absolutely true. But now as I go into here, here's my plank. I can actually wobble it on purpose, which engages my core to hold my body. But I want to change this up. I want to make this tougher. Arm goes on 1, arm goes on 3. Now I'm in the center and I have to hold my body so tight, keep pressure. But again, I'm working slightly more the left side of my core because that's closer to the center. And you constantly can change up. There's so many different exercises. For example, let's spin this around. I can come and sit on the board, grab hold of the handles on the opposite side, come back, and now I'm working my lower abs. And as I bring my knees in, my core has to be worked, not just forward and backwards, but because the rock at the side, I now start to engage the obliques because they want to be in control, not just my front abs, lower abs working through here, but my obliques, because I'll begin to rock and it's the sides, the obliques through here, the serratus that begins to get involved as I round my back and squeeze. I'm in here. Now my whole core is being worked as I'm going into those exercises. And as I begin to feel the rock, I've got to use my core to bring myself back to the center. Let me show you another exercise. I'm going to spin this back around. Same thing happens again. I'm going to grab my weights. I'm going to step into here. Now I want to go into squats. So my butt goes back. I begin to come down. I'm into here. And now I've got to push back up again. And I can feel those muscles where my weakness is. I have a weaker right leg for sure. In here as I go down, part of that is a little bit of a knee injury. So I'm not going to go quite so deep. But I have to keep my core, but more importantly, my quads, my glutes are in a constant dynamic state. Even when I get to here, normally we stand up and we're done. When you stand up, you can't be done. You can hear I'm breathing a little heavy right now. So again, at all times, everything has to stay engaged in dynamic strength, and it helps equal up your body that both sides have to be equal. No different, you could put this on a Smith machine, have your feet on the Smith, and go into a little bit of a bend, and as you push up, feel where your pressure is. I can feel, again, more pressure on my left side, so I correct by pushing a little bit more on my right or being more aware of my right, so the board stays equal. Now, what's the benefit of that? You're gonna get stronger. How are you gonna get stronger? Because most of us have one side that's a little bit more dominant than the other side, and so the board identifies that. There's no cheating. The board will give you exactly what you need, and from that, you'll be able to adjust, because we know a weak point on your body is going to be the weakness where you get the injury, the failure in lifting the weights. You strengthen your weaker side as you strengthen your strong side, so they come up together, and from that you can increase the power that you have because you're not having one side making up for the other. Now, that pretty much wraps up my initial presentation for the 60 Up balance board. Don't get confused by the name 60 Up. It's geared towards seniors because they're the largest community that needs to regain their life. We're trying to help them come back and regain full mobility, because if you're going to be living life, then live life. But don't ignore the fact that the proprioceptive connection, your brain, your body connection, is critical for everything you do in life. Anybody that begins to lose their mobility or wants to get stronger needs to be balanced all the way through, from brain to body connection, body to brain connection, and then isolating body parts, but making sure both sides of the body are equally trained, so you remove a weakness or the demand for one side to be more supportive of the other, and eventually you're going to end up with that side breaking down. So thanks so much for joining me here. You can go to 60up.com. People say to me, why is it called 60 Up? Well, I say, if you tried 7-Up, this is almost 10 times better. And 7-Up sometimes can taste good as well. But go to 60up.com. Feel free to reach out, ask questions for doctors, physical therapists, people stuck at home, those struggling. If you have a family member, a mother, a father, a friend that needs balance training, or a bodybuilder, a power lifter, somebody that wants to go into higher level competition, you can utilize this in any workout you do. Remember, it can hold over 2,500 pounds. We've had it independently tested. It's made in America, incredible material. So if you're a big guy, a strong lady, you want to be squatting with heavy weights, you can take it to whatever level you want. So thanks for joining me, Dan Metcalfe, the creator and inventor of 60 Up. And once again, thank you, the Fit Expo Virtual, for allowing us to be here and celebrate with you. Fitness doesn't stop because we're forced to not go to our gyms or go outside. Fitness continues, and it's the basis of all our health and our wellness. So have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Enjoy the other incredible vendors, and thank you for giving me your time. Take care.